Hello fellow players, I'm Mege. After uploading my Warden gameplay videos, I've been asked many times to make a tutorial or a guide. So here it is, welcome to my Warden guide. This guide will be divided into 3 parts. First, I'll cover all of Warden moves and give some insight about them. Then we'll talk about playstyle and the mentality you should have when playing for Honor in general. Last but not least will be some practical tips for the Warden. Let's start with light attacks. Side light attacks are pretty slow and shouldn't be used too much in neutral, as they're parried pretty easily. By neutral, I refer to that state where both players have no advantage over the other. An example would be the two of them just looking at each other while locked on. Warden side light, as many of you probably know, can be chained in a 2-hit combo if the first one connects with your opponent. We'll talk more about this later. Top light is one of the Warden's best moves. It comes out very fast, can be comboed into either another light or heavy, and it's used to trigger crushing counter-strike. If you use top light like you would use a parry, the Warden will perform the crushing counter-strike, dealing a lot of damage and leaving you in a favorable situation. However, be wary that the timing is slightly more strict than a parry. Warden's most damaging move is his top heavy attack. It is, however, also extremely slow and must be used cautiously. The same could be said about his side heavy attacks, which, while less damaging, are a little better at catching people dodging sideways or generally moving around a lot. Shoulder bash is Warden's greatest tool. It allows you to get through a defensive opponent, and it also creates those delicious mix-ups which can lead to a lot of damage. The bash in itself does no damage, but after a successful hit, it always lets you connect a side double light combo if you have the stamina. To perform shoulder bash, you must press X after a dodge or a light attack. Shoulder bash can be charged, although this is pretty situational. You should only charge it when you're aiming to push your opponent into a wall, as this will allow you to combo a top heavy. Shoulder bash can also be cancelled by pressing B, or cancelled into a guard break by pressing X. Both of these must be done early into the animation, much like a feint. We'll talk more about shoulder bash mix-up potential later, in the playstyle section. Warden's zone attack is amazing. It's very fast and deals a good amount of damage. It's one of your best tools in neutral, together with top light. It does have its drawbacks. It costs a lot of stamina, half your bar. It also always comes from the same direction, and if the opponent expects it, it can parry. Even if the opponent simply blocks it, if they gut break you after blocking the zone attack, you won't be able to counter it. Warden's guard break is pretty fast compared to some others. As with all guard breaks, it should be used very carefully in neutral. In case you don't know, missing a guard break will leave you open to a guard break yourself, which in turn you can't counter. Running attack is one of the best moves in the game at catching fleeing opponents. When performed within a certain range, the Warden will rapidly lunge forward, homing on the enemy. However, be wary. Just like the zone attack, it will always come out from the same direction, and if used add-on, can be countered. With all of that out of the way, let's talk about how I approach every fight as the Warden. Do note that I'm not claiming in any way that my playstyle is the best for this hero. This is just how I play. As in every fighting game, the key to winning in For Honor is knowing your opponent, knowing what their hero can and can't do, and then identifying their playstyle, their habits, preferred combos, and so on. For this very reason, you should try to be as unpredictable as possible. An incredibly powerful combo won't be very useful if used repeatedly, as any skilled player will identify you and counter you accordingly. As a Warden, I generally poke around with top lights and zone attack. Side lights can be used to mix things up. Again, these are your best friends in neutral. You shouldn't attack blindly though. Try and read your opponent, be patient. Are they attacking? Focus on parrying and punishing. Are they only blocking? Dodge in front of them and shoulder bash their face. They keep dodging around you? Guard break them and throw them off cliff. Your most consistent damage source is your mix-up. Your goal should be to try and hit them with shoulder bash. If it connects, then great. Throw out the double light and go home. You can shoulder bash again, or cancel it into a guard break. Or you can guard break right away, or maybe feint. There are a lot of possibilities, and there isn't a best one, simply in the light of what I said before. Be unpredictable. Even if you miss, don't worry and think, why did I miss? Did my opponent see the shoulder bash coming and dodge? Then next time I can cancel it into a guard break and get them. Remember, if you know your opponent, then you know what they're gonna do. And if you know what they're gonna do, you can counter it. While this may feel a little vague, I'll include actual practical tips right now. Let's start with counter guard breaks. I've been asked about them a lot. The most common mistake I see among new and even some experienced players is that they press the button at the wrong moment. You do not press it when the guard break icon pops up. You have to press X as soon as the opponent hits you, makes contact with you. Once you get used to this, you will be able to counter guard break without problems, even many times in a row. Do note, however, that guard breaks cannot always be countered. You cannot counter a guard break if you miss an attack, or after you have been parried, or if you are dodging. After a parry, most of the time, you should guard break. Sometimes the opponent might end up a little too far away for you to guard break them. In that case, try a double side light, or a zone attack. Also, some heroes will always end up too far away for you to guard break them, like the Nobushi and the Kensei on some of his attacks. After a guard break, you can either side heavy, which guarantees good damage, or double side light, which does a little less damage, but gets the opponent right into your mix-up. Throwing your opponent into a wall is also a great option, since it guarantees a top heavy. If you manage to land crushing counter-strike, your opponent will usually be a little confused. Abuse this, follow up immediately with shoulder bash, or feint and capitalize on the feint. Just in case some of you didn't know, feigning is performed by pressing B during a heavy attack wind-up animation. Feigning is the best way to get through an opponent who knows how to parry. Here is an example. You feint a top heavy attack. Your opponent will try to parry it, inputting a top heavy attack at the last moment. But, since you feinted, he won't be parrying it but attacking himself. And since you're expecting this, you can capitalize on it, for example with a crashing counter-strike. Or a parry yourself. With good reflexes, feigning can also be used defensively. If you notice your attack will miss, or you are gonna get hit by another attack before it will finish, then feint and get back on the defensive. Another thing I like to do, especially against fast and slippery heroes such as the Peacekeeper, is to throw out a heavy attack. Wait a very short beat for the opponent to take the bait, and then throw out another heavy to catch them while they're approaching me. Do note that this won't work all the time, and it really depends on your opponent. Remember, identify their playstyle. I hope you found this guide useful. Obviously, you won't log back into the game, pick up the Warden and win every match. As with every fighting game, experience is fundamental. Knowing Orochi's zone attack comes from the right, or that Warlord has super armor on his heavy attacks. These are things you can learn from playing, or by reading some guide somewhere. What guides cannot teach you is adapting to every situation, every opponent. Keep asking yourself, why didn't that work? And never get angry at the game. Seek improvement. I believe that this guide will lead you to improving faster. If you want to watch more of my Warden, check out my channel. If you liked this video, please leave a like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the comment section below. Have a good day and I'll see you on the battlefield. Deus Vult!